All right, good morning, everyone. And on behalf of OSI, I thank you for joining us. And backed by popular demand, we're here to explore the differences between Oracle EBS and Cloud Financials. Now, this is part of our monthly series exploring the differences between EBS and on-premise with the cloud modules. On our ongoing monthly series, we'll be exploring the differences between all of the major Oracle modules. So let's get started today. So my name is Doug Tuff. I'm a Solutions Manager with OSI in the Pacific Northwest, and I'll be hosting our webcast today with both Vikas, Bhoot, and Diby, Mukherjee, our subject matter experts. Diby is our Vice President of Enterprise Applications with extensive experience implementing, managing, and consulting with customers that use ERP applications to manage and improve their business. Vikas is our Director of Consulting with over 20 years of experience. Vikas possesses a strong background in finance, accounts, supply chain, taxation, distribution, and costing. So let's discuss our agenda and a few housekeeping items for today's webcast. And ultimately, why should you be listening to us, OSI? We are a 24-year-old global professional services firm with about 1,300 employees. And we are an Oracle Platinum partner, and we work with a variety of technologies. Today, you are hearing from our Oracle Applications Group focused on Oracle Cloud Applications and EBS solutions. What you are about to hear in today's webcast comes from real-world experience. Now, I want to take a moment to remind everyone that if you have any questions, please type them into our chat on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. You should be able to open up a question and answer area, type in your question, and at the end of the webinar, we'll be answering all those questions. If by chance we run out of time, we will be following up with you after the fact to make sure we get those questions answered. So let me pass our webinar over to our subject matter expert, Vikas. So Vikas, are you there?
Yes, thanks, Doug. Appreciate that. Welcome, everyone, and I'm glad and thankful that you could join us today. There are many questions that cross our minds when we think of cloud in general and the ERP cloud in particular. For any enterprise that is using an on-prem ERP, it is only fair to ask if the cloud is feasible and if at all possible. What does it take to move to the cloud? And most importantly, should we do it and when? To answer these last two questions, it is very important to understand what's different and how it fits you. With that in mind, today we will review some areas that might concern EBS customers considering migrating to the cloud, specifically in the finance domain. As part of general setup in the cloud, we will primarily discuss the mechanism of performing and maintaining setups, the roles and access controls, integration with other Oracle applications and other applications, and extensions and enhancement tools. And as part of that, we'll touch upon functional setup manager, identity management, integration, and all the extensions and customizations possible. So with EBS and 11i, both 11i and Release 12 modules, the configuration in each of the modules or functional areas is generally left to the implementer in terms of both the design, the definition of the sequence, and the setup steps are essentially driven by how you configure personally. And that does not leave a standardized mechanism that leads to a lot of multiple paths, leading to a lot of confusion when you look at all your modules within EBS. Fusion provides a central place to access and perform all of the setup steps across products. Fusion auto-generates all the setup steps in sequence that need to be done, and it highlights the dependencies of a setup step. For example, the dependency to define a ledger is to define a chart of accounts. That is very intuitive and is available on the functional setup manager as a sequential task. Before Fusion, there was really no ability to assign setup tasks to individuals or track their progress. In Fusion, you can do that. Fusion FSM provides offerings, options, and features that are organized in multi-level hierarchy to help implementers in making decisions progressively during configuration of offerings. So on this screen, you would notice there is a financials offering that has all of these options, and as you drill down further into these options, you get the features and tasks that come along with that you need to configure. So we talked about a few differences between EBS and Fusion configuration, but in Fusion, the key difference is you can export and import your setup steps across instances. In Fusion, the reporting is pretty comprehensive to help you both audit and validate your setup configurations and any data across any of the instances. You can review your setup reports to find out what setup data is available in a particular instance. That makes all your audits, system audits, and validation pretty easy and auditable. That leaves an audit trail. So security tasks in Fusion are supported by tools within both Oracle Fusion applications that provide product-based security tasks and Oracle Fusion's middleware that provides the common security tasks. So let's talk of the common security tasks first. This figure lists that the task associated with each of these integrated products and pillars is a pillar of an Oracle Fusion application deployment. So the two key components for common security tasks are Oracle Identity Management and access provisioning used by creating and importing users, provisioning roles, managing job roles, whereas APM, or Automation Policy Manager, is used for role management and data security. A quick note on roles is there are a lot of abstract roles that are usually assigned directly, and it does not require a data role generated on top of it. So job roles are roles that you would hire someone into, like accounts payable manager, billing specialist, etc., that require some sort of data security on top of it. And then the second set of security comes from the respective modules itself. That is based on the product. For example, in HR, you use in 11i and release 12 security profiles. That's very similar with Fusion. In GL, you use access sets and security rules. That's also very common and similar in Fusion. Now, in this diagram, what we are trying to illustrate is how role-based security works. If you notice, Freda is set up as an employee and a line manager, and these are the abstract roles that a person or a user inherits or is assigned to. And then there are job roles of a payroll specialist or HR specialist that she inherits. Now, based upon her job roles, she can inherit the number of duty roles, and those duty roles are like the tasks on a day-to-day basis that she can perform and is allowed to perform. That's controlled by her entitlements. So if I were to draw a similarity and analogy with 11i and release 12, you can think of these roles as responsibilities, and all of these jobs are menus within the responsibilities that you can access and provide certain controls over. And then these functions within 11i and release 12 is what becomes all your entitlement and tasks. And then the data security model that 11i and release 12 used was based on the MO operating unit profile options, the legal entity, GL setup book, those profile options that would control the access from a business unit or an operating unit perspective. So this is an example of product-based security in GL. In EBS, data access sets were only limited to ledgers that shared the same chart of account and calendar. In Fusion, if you notice on this screen, the Fusion data access sets are set at chart of account structure level. And a chart of account can now have the same structure but different value sets, and we'll see that in the next few slides how that works. So far we have talked about two key things when you try to move from EBS to Fusion. And even though we use the word migration, there is no technical automated migration that is provided as a migration path. But the actual move is still very easy. What you have to do, the two key things are map the security using the role-based access model in Fusion. You map your users' responsibilities and menus into these job roles and duty roles, and you replicate the setups which the functional setup manager provides you in terms of all the sequential steps to do and get there. The next thing that we wanted to talk about was integrations. That's the topmost thing on people's minds, especially in a financial environment where you use a lot of external trading partners to do your EDI transactions, your bank transactions, bank reconciliations, payments, ACH wires, and so on. So cloud provides a lot of tools depending on the type of transaction, the volume of transaction, the load, and so on, multiple mechanisms to do those integrations. So there is still the good old FTP file-based data imports that you can continue to do, which typically we would recommend doing for high volume data import that's needed and done in batch mode behind the scenes. There are real-time web services that you can use for transactional type integration on a minute-by-minute, second-by-second basis. And then for low volume user interaction type data, ADF desktop integration, which is similar to web ADI or your desktop ADI from even older versions, which provides an Microsoft Excel view and allows you to upload and download data using Spreadsheet on the front end. One thing that Fusion does not allow you and does not provide you is this database access to write packages and do database level stuff on your own. But you still can write a lot of SQL queries and reporting over your existing data. The next area of concern that we hear most commonly is what happens with all the enhancements and customizations. So overall, the principle of not customizing cloud is the same as not customizing any ERP for that matter. But cloud still allows you to do a lot of customizations and enhancements to meet your unique business needs, be those either through personalizations, through configuring multiple AFFs or flex fields. And the flex fields have been enhanced a lot with cloud. You can still do a lot of BI publishing, reports, transactional BI reporting. And then to test and validate and move all of your customization layers or these add-ons that you do, enhancements, you still get and have a perpetual sandbox instance that is refreshed from your production periodically, where you can change and test it in your own virtual box and then plan the move and publishing to your production instance. So that basically provides you a framework for your testing and sort of a build on your own. The next thing on the enterprise structures is the whole multi-org setup, the multi-org concept. And the way it works is the chart of account is now available across instances. It has multiple trees, and it has a lot of additional functionality that EBS did not provide in the past. And we'll go through those real quick now. So in Fusion, the chart of account model is framed around the concept of a structure of a chart of account. So what that does is, with the chart of account structure, you can extend a structure into multiple instances. And what that does is, each instance can have its own value sets. So you can use a single defined structure across multiple entities, multiple ledgers, multiple even instances, and then have different values within each of those extensions of that same structure, so that your shape and dimension of the structure of the chart is the same, but you are able to then control the values separately. And we'll talk about instances and trees in a minute, but one key thing to note with the chart of account with Fusion is Fusion allows you 3 primary balancing segments. So that whole concept of secondary segment that was available in EBS is gone. And secondary segment was very limited. It only did your retained earnings and translation adjustment at that level, whereas with 3 balancing segments, you can essentially create a lot of consolidated reporting and as well as drill down by segments and get balanced financial statements by just within a single journal transaction for multiple entities. So talking of instances, as I said, you can inherit a chart of account structure, create multiple instances, and then each of those instances is a standalone COA by itself, where you have a lot of flexibility to do whatever within that contained ledger without impacting any other structure, concepts, or elements at all. Whereas when it comes to the tree and hierarchy, in Fusion, account hierarchies are used for balance inquiry, financial reporting, and all the other general ledger processing. The advantage is for inquiry and reporting purposes, you can use date-effective hierarchies, which are based on different tree versions, and that you can download and manage through Spreadsheets. It allows you analysis of your past, present, and even future data against any account hierarchy. So if you're moving departments, doing a reorganization of your companies and legal entities, you can do what-if analysis using those hierarchies and see how it would impact your reporting and how it would impact all the KPI measurement that you do using those reports. Security rules are still the same conceptually, but now you use Oracle Identity Management to define your security rules, so it's much more flexible and robust, and your cross-validation across segment values within the chart of account are governed by very easy, intuitive rule-building process that is not driven by just specific static values. You can pretty much write greater than, less than, conditional type statements to build your cross-validation rules, and even use parent and child values so that all the values below and above can be inherited in that cross-validation rule. So in summary, it has become much more intuitive and easier to write cross-validation rules and security rules. So this representation is a multi-org structure in the old world. This is specific to Release 12. This is not 11i. So in Release 12, you had this concept of business group with ledgers and then have multiple legal entities within the same ledger. Even though LE is the topmost in terms of hierarchy, it's not represented here, but that's the idea. And then you would have multiple operating units within a ledger and could have as many legal entities and inventory arcs. With Fusion, the concept is still the same, but what has enhanced is the shared service concept of maintaining shared functions at whatever level you want to do. And that comes from this business unit, which used to be operating unit, and it has enhanced, Fusion has enhanced the function of business unit to create a contained object by itself that allows you to do all the shared service functions. And I'll explain that in the next slide. So this shows a typical example of a setup where you have multiple business units or multiple operating units, and you can keep it as decentralized as you want. So on my procure to pay flow, you can have your requisitioning, sourcing, buying, and paying all segregated into their respective business units. So each unit is requesting and paying all the way through by itself. Whereas you can have models where you can just share, decentralize the requesting process, obviously, and then consolidate all of the shared service functions of sourcing, buying, and paying so that you provide one single face to the customer and the internal organization does not matter. And then these two other flavors show you all the other possibilities in terms of just combining the sourcing function or taking it all the way and keeping everything separate. Another big change that has happened with EBS, between EBS and Fusion, is the replication of setup data. In EBS, an operating unit would segregate not just your transactional data, but would also segregate your setup data. For example, if I was setting up transaction types, payment terms, all my aging buckets, and so on, that would also be segregated within the operating unit. And it would not allow me to easily use all of those master setup type data in another operating unit unless I go and configure that specifically. With Fusion, this concept of reference data has created repeatable setups. So what that essentially means is you can use your master setup data across operating units without going through the pain and labor of configuring the application all over again. And the transactional data is still segregated out in its own box, so you still get the benefits of both the worlds. Next, we'll talk about a few key areas at the subledger and transactional level, and this section will run through a little faster. So with journal entries in Oracle in GL, the journal dashboard and journal creation process is the one single screen that allows you a very intuitive, task-based view of everything that's in your plate. So for example, if I have to create journal entries in Spreadsheet, that link is right there, and the moment I click on it, it helps me create my Excel template and populate the numbers right there and upload it from there. It also allows me one single view and one single place for a dashboard that shows me all the journal entries that are in my queue, that are waiting for my approval, that are waiting for completion if the journal entry is unbalanced, and so on. So it basically provides one single view of my dashboard reporting for journals. The next biggest area of improvement that we see in the GL is around writing allocations. With companies that have multiple entities and multiple departments and use a shared service type model, the cost allocation across the right entities from a gap perspective becomes all the more important. And with multiple companies on one single instance comes the requirement and need to account for your costs and revenues appropriately. With both Release 12 and 11i, that used to be a concern area in terms of writing a lot of rules and calculations appropriately, and then running those journals every month to create your allocation journal entries. With Fusion, Oracle has borrowed the concept from Hyperion and Hyperion Financial Management and Planning, and it allows you intuitive rule designer and calc manager where you can write your calc manager scripts and do allocations quickly. On the approvals front, Oracle Release 12 had journal approvals workflow built into GL, but now that has been enhanced to use AMX, and that allows a very intuitive task-based configuration and gives the same functionality in terms of power, but it's very intuitive, and users can write their own rules based on departments, amount, values, supervisor hierarchy, and so on. It can all be created by end users from the front end. The close process with Fusion comes with the close monitor dashboard. We'll talk about that and see how Fusion Accounting Hub, consolidations, revaluations, and translations all sit under the close period and under the period close dashboard. So this is one single view that a controller or a CFO in your enterprise can have in terms of what ledgers are pending and in what status, what is the status of each of the subledgers, what is pending on each of these departments or subledger owners in terms of close, and why is the close held up. And you can exactly see if, for example, your cost accounting transactions were not costed, then the controller has one single snapshot view without even asking 5 different people where to go and who to talk to about the close process and the close schedule at that point in time. So each of these modules have their own close status visibility. They also provide, once the subledgers are done, coming back to the GL flow, how many steps of the GL side are pending, what is the status of my translations, what's the status of my consolidation, where are all my AGIS and intercompany transactions sitting, and what do I need to do in terms of progress to that next step of closing my books. So the close monitor functionality or this dashboard is a hierarchical ledger set-based display. It provides a summarization of period close status for each ledger, and it provides the summarization of high-level income statement results as well for each entity. And this is very configurable and intuitive, and it's very handy when people have to get and monitor real-time numbers during the close process. So instead of running your complete trial balance or financial statements or your FSGs, you can get a lot of snapshot type view real time as entries are flowing in and getting posted at the time of month-end close. So on financial reporting and dashboards, there is a new tool called Financial Reporting Studio, which is very similar to FSGs. And then Oracle has also embedded spreadsheet and online analysis functionality that came from SmartView under Hyperion, from Hyperion. And it also allows you to do a lot of tracking of key account balances. So there is this concept of account monitor and account inspector. And we'll talk about that and see those screens in the next few slides. So financial reporting is driven by two types of reports overall. One is the financial balance report, or like my financial statements, profit and loss, income statements, balance sheets, cash flow statements. And those are available out of the system using the financial reporting dashboard, which is similar to FSGs. And it provides all the neat tools of graphing, charting, multiple output options, be it spreadsheets or PDF. And you can do live reporting on that. So all of these reports get refreshed real time as numbers are getting posted. And then there is a SmartView tool that came from Hyperion. It's an Excel integrated tool that allows you to do all typical Excel functions. You can do ad hoc analysis, pivoting, and do your graphs and charts on spreadsheets. So that was more around financial presentation or your for your filing purposes and your consolidated reports. But when it comes to transactional data, and a lot of companies love to have very detailed trial balances in GL and like to get a lot of department level or line of business level reporting from the GL, then Oracle has this tool built on top of GL, which sits on a multi-dimensional S-based type database, and it's OTBI, transactional BI. So this tool provides a lot of ad hoc reporting where the output can be sliced and diced using any segment of a chart of account. And this is meant for your high volume, your internal formatting type usage. So like I was mentioning, Hyperion Financial Reporting Studio, the Fusion Edition is a subset of the key main Hyperion tool, and it replaces FSG with an intuitive report creation tool with Excel-like interface and graphic capabilities. You can do a lot of ad hoc multi-dimensional analysis in Excel, multiple output types. You can do interactive drilling and expansion of parent values. So the report essentially is sort of a live dashboard to get to your multi-dimensional balances. So with Subledger accounting, there is now a coexistence framework with Fusion Accounting Hub. So Oracle has multiple products that help you feed depending on your options and features that you subscribe to. You can either use Fusion Accounting Hub or Subledger Accounting to feed all your external systems into your general ledger. And as part of this, we'll talk about how the Subledger accounting engine is flexible enough so that it allows you both your IFRS and GAAP reporting, it allows you to reconcile balances, and do your exception reporting and get dashboards and reporting out of that. So one key thing that Oracle has done with Fusion Subledger accounting is it allows you to see the balances as it flows through the Subledger accounting engine. So before it even hits the GL, if you have all these external systems that are interfacing journal entries or interfacing transactions, and then you build journal entries based on those transactions within SLA, it allows you to see how those rules have impacted and created balances, and you can do a what-if future analysis for all projected balances, your project to date, your quarter to date, YTD balances. And you can see the impact of that real time into the GL as in a what-if mode. SLA also allows you to import from different subledgers And it even allows you to use Microsoft Excel to import from other systems. So if your systems, external systems are light enough and produce an accounting that works from that system's perspective, and the integration between that system and Oracle GL using SLA is an overkill, then you can just take the trial balance from that external system, do a mapping using VLOOKUP, and upload your transactions from that one system into SLA using Spreadsheet. And then it also obviously allows you all the account overriding feature for corrections on accounting segments before it even goes into the GL. So the Spreadsheet tool kind of becomes both your data capture as well as your audit trail and correction mechanism. The functionality of budgets has been enhanced a lot using a lot of Hyperion type tools, and it still does your funds check and is independent from encumbrance, but at the same time allows you to do your budget entry and adjustments using the planning forecasting options. So as we said, the database behind the scene on ERP is multidimensional. It's S-based database, so that essentially allows you all the planning, slicing, and dicing. And Oracle has embedded all the Hyperion features into its budgeting functionality now, while at the same time it still allows you to do a lot of file-based, flat file-based from the back-end uploads, as well as front-end uploads using Spreadsheets and SmartView. Overall fixed assets functionality has stayed the same. The big difference now is you have a big assets dashboard that is one single place and sort of acts both as your asset workbench to perform tasks as well as monitor what's going on with fixed assets in terms of the status of the close process, how many transactions are sitting in the math additions, how do you and what do you need to clear to close the books, and so on. And it also provides you one single place to run all your BI publisher reports and provides an Excel integration that you can use too. But the nice, neat thing is it's a single asset dashboard that allows you to create, monitor, and report. In cash management, the big change is the bank account model is still the same, but there is a lot of security around bank account models and transactions. So you can use your role-based access control to slice all the accounting transactions and effectively put a lot of segregation of duty on that, on the banking model, right from creation of bank accounts to doing transactions, approving transactions, and so on. So the big thing that Oracle has done now is there's a dashboard to manage your cash positions of all the bank accounts in one single place, and it can run across legal entities. So if you have a shared treasury function and you have multiple ledgers and multiple controllers, you can still create a consolidated cash management view for the whole enterprise that allows the treasurer the access across all legal entities, and that's a segregated function and duty. And it also at the same time does the typical old functions or its expected functions of bank statement reconciliation and securing your bank accounts. And one thing that they have done, just like with any other rule setting mechanism, is the bank reconciliation setup has become much more rules based, and you can create your templates for with a lot of flexible matching rules for bank reconciliation using cash management. So that's what we wanted to quickly highlight on all the core GL functions and the key subledgers that have happened or changed between EBS and Fusion. But if you are looking at moving on from your on-prem ERP to Cloud Fusion, the summary of all of this is what do you need to do? How can you move? So it's certain, yes, you can move your ERP on-prem to cloud, but you have to plan for it in terms of your current extensions, your interfaces, the customizations do you have, and this is a good time to ask, why do you need those customizations? When were those put in place? Even the people and the processes or the business needs that were in place when you put these customizations in place are probably not even relevant. If you ask someone internally, they wouldn't even know why you do what you do today. So it gives you a good trigger point to ask those relevant questions in your enterprise. And then obviously with any other ERP implementation, just like any other ERP implementation, you still have to think of a data conversion strategy and the security that you want to build on that. These are all tasks that you have to do, and it's sometimes easy, and sometimes you need to put a focused effort in getting there, in terms of getting there. So before you do your EBS to cloud migration, you still have to know what you are signing up for. What timeline does it take? What's the cost, both from an internal as well as an external perspective? And what are the risks in terms of what are we getting versus what are we giving away? Because with the cloud model comes a lot of flexibility in terms of not having to deal with the day-to-day patching and management of the infrastructure, but then there is the whole change management process, and people have to get tuned to using an off-the-shelf type product with minimum customizations.
All right, thank you, Vikas. So Vikas covered a lot of ground there, and we just want to really leave everyone with a final thought before we get into our question and answer session. So everything that Vikas has covered, there's a lot of moving parts there, and we're a strong advocate, and we've developed a cloud assessment service. And during this assessment, we will provide you a full report on the feasibility, the risks involved, and any changes required, and the visibility on any gaps that we find. It includes a great deal of detail and is designed to give you a clear path to the cloud. So you can walk away from one of our engagements with us, an assessment, and you have a solid understanding of what it's going to take for your specific company to get from where you are today to the cloud. And we also include parts of strategy advice on the phases required, integrations, and any business process change that may be required. So you'll have a total understanding. We've also been known for accomplishing these projects quite quickly. We have a fast turnaround and provide a great return on your investment. So if you have any interest in a discussion on what you heard or our assessment, feel free to give us a call. We have our contact information here listed. You can go to our website, go to Contact Us. We pick up on that very quickly, or the phone number, or info@osius.com. And one final reminder, this is a part, what we covered today is simply just a part of a series of educational webinars around Oracle ERP Cloud. And we're going to be having these webinars once every last Thursday of the month. And so keep an eye open for invitations coming from our marketing department. So, okay, so now that we've covered everything, let's jump into our question and answer session. And it looks like we've gotten a number or received a number of questions that have come through. So we're going to start off. Our first question comes from Matt. And Matt has 3 questions. This is the most questions we've received from a single participant, so applause to you, Matt. So the first question is, do you know what tool can be used to write the SQL queries on the cloud?
Okay, so I'll take that, Doug. This is Diby. Well, this is a typical question from typical EBS users. We are so used to writing our SQL queries and just pulling information out of the database, either doing it ourselves or asking a developer to do it. Unfortunately, with the cloud, or fortunately maybe even with the cloud, we cannot write our own SQL queries. So we don't have access to the backend database. There is no apps or Toad or SQL developer access. So all of the information that gets pulled out has to come through like an OTBI type tool where you have the business areas defined and you can pull data out. Alternatively, if you do come up with a view that is not available out of the box with OTBI, you can create an SR and Oracle will actually develop the view for you. So to answer your question, Matt, you cannot use a tool to directly answer SQL queries, but there are other tools to be able to pull up data as you need.
Okay, great. So the next part to his question is, do you know if an account can belong to more than one parent at the same time, like in EBS?
Yes, that is correct. It can. And I was referring to multiple trees that you can maintain both for reporting and what-if analysis, as well as for GL processing. The only thing to be cautious about is when you have a tree, there is only one and only one tree that can be active for GL processing. And that would make sense because when I'm posting journal entries, I want only one flavor of that tree to be active for that purpose so that my balances do not go and hit multiple accounts. So to answer your question, yes, there are multiple dimensions and multiple hierarchies available, and hence one child can belong to multiple parents.
All right, great. And then the third part here, for normal budgets, non-encumbrance, do you have to implement or purchase PBCS? Planning and Budgeting Cloud Service?
No, you do not have to. Oracle, if you look at it from a back-end perspective in GL, still has the budget columns and budget tables, and you can use the integrated Fusion edition of Hyperion to upload your budgets. You can even create uploads using Web ADI or Desktop ADI type tools and upload the budget balances into the same code GL. As long as you're not doing a lot of forecasting, Calc Manager, you should be good.
Okay, great. Our next question comes from Linda, and she's asking, what has been your or our experience working in Oracle Cloud with respect to OCR for invoicing? And she's curious about the performance. How does that work so far?
So with OCR, we didn't cover it in this session. It will get covered in our P2P session because that's part of AP. And the invoice recognition part, but to answer your question, Linda, OCR works well. The route that it comes in is your supplier send an invoice to an email ID that has been assigned for this purpose, and you then import those invoices through a back-end concurrent process. So on a performance angle, I don't think there is any major hit because it's not doing it real time. It's coming in on a back-end process that's happening in batch. And we've had it running with customers that have used it to import thousands of invoices in a day, and it works pretty good.
Okay, great. And then what size company is the cloud offering targeting? What kind of companies are they targeting? Do we have any sense of that?
Well, we have implemented it in companies that are in the mid-size and SMB space, and we are also talking to clients that are in the enterprise space now wanting to implement the cloud. Oracle for sure is targeting it across their user base. So they have been approaching even companies like GE. I know that there are a couple of units of GE that are implementing the cloud. And then there are the smaller startup type firms that are not even revenue ready that are implementing it. So it is just like EBS. The target market is pretty much the whole ERP spectrum.
Okay, great. We had another question from Mahesh come in. This is a good one. And he'd like to understand if all of the current modules, which are currently in EBS version 12, if they are also all available in Oracle Cloud, like EAM, order management, procurement, so on and so forth.
Yeah, they are. Mostly they are available. They are getting available as time goes by. Oracle keeps releasing cloud versions. For example, order entry became available in release 11, which was about a year or so ago. WMS, warehouse management in the cloud, just became available very recently, a couple months back. So even as of now, pretty much all the modules are available. They're just available at different levels of maturity based on when they were released. Okay,
great. And to follow up with that, Mahesh was also wondering about customization. How does Oracle maintain the company-specific customization in the cloud? And I think that's a fairly common question we get.
Yeah, so each company has its own instance. So when you are running an Oracle Cloud instance, I believe Oracle's architecture currently is single tenant. So you are running your own instance, and our Oracle's running your instance for you in the cloud all by itself. So whatever customizations have been done to that instance are stay with that instance, just like in EBS. And when every upgrade is done, the updates, whatever is upgrade proof goes through, whatever is not upgrade proof gets broken and needs to be applied again.
Okay. And I think he's also asking if there's any timelines associated that Oracle releases around their cloud timeline.
Yeah, so typically Oracle has been doing quarterly upgrades, either point releases or the point upgrades are being done quarterly, and I keep hearing that Oracle will soon move to a monthly patch upgrade, so they will be applying patches monthly. So it's going to be a pretty regular process. In terms of major releases, I think, I don't know if there's any official timeline, but they have been averaging for the last 3 to 4 years, they have been averaging at about one release every year. So release 11 came out last year, release 12 came out this year. I don't know there's a date yet for release 13, but I'm guessing it won't be before next year. So I think it's about one major release every year.
Okay. And Linda was curious, so discussing some of these cloud modules and their availability, is OPM available in the cloud?
OPM is not yet available.
Not yet, okay.
I believe it's in the works, but it's not yet.
Okay, so we don't have a sense of when it might be coming out yet?
No, I haven't been able to get a date from Oracle yet.
Okay, great. Okay, well, that seems to be all of the questions that we have here. If by chance there were any that we missed, we will be following up with you after our WebEx session here. But we want to thank everybody for attending. And once again, if you're interested in talking with us about a cloud assessment or simply have a few other questions, feel free to contact us on the information we have on screen, and we'll look forward to it.
There's one question on when is our P2P session?
Yes.
And that is next month, the last Thursday of next month.
Okay. All right. Well, so there you go. Our P2P session will be the next last Thursday of next month, so the last Thursday of June. Anyways, you can look forward to that. And our marketing team will be sending out an invitation to that. So once again, thank you for attending. We appreciate your time. We know it's very valuable, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the next one. Take care, everyone.